To what extent, and this goes for sort of all three of you and every sort of pair, to what extent did you have to be friends sort of to play first, or did you become kind of develop your friendship by playing together? Is that how you got to know each other? I mean, you two as as friends and as a couple and as a band, like how did that symbiosis happen? I guess.
Well, for meeting Andrew, it was definitely music first. We met at a music jam, so that was kind of unavoidable. And it was, I think we liked the way each other played and enjoyed each other's company, so that, but it was definitely like a musical thing. And we got together to play songs together and to work out tunes in the beginning. And I think, with Ryan and with our other music playing friends, it was somewhat the same, not always a planned jam, but sometimes we'll say, we just feel like playing around tonight, let's try and get together at someone's house, and sometimes that works, and sometimes people just drop by. So I think the music is definitely the core common ground for our friendship.
I mean, I think for continual, like if I'm going to continually play with someone, I have to be friends with them. But I mean, if from an artistic view you work really well together, it kind of doesn't really even matter if you like the person, like, and it, they don't care either. And that's where it's, to some extent, that's not someone like you would want to be heavily involved with. But I would say friends definitely help, but just as much like just getting along musically.
I was going to say, like, take the friends approach, because I do know we've had some pretty late night jams at the station, and they sounded like, and so it really wasn't about the music at all. It was about the company, And I think a lot of times the company you keep, a lot of times, can influence, it influences your artistic approach to everything. Like with Ryan, I guess about 2 years ago, when I first heard bluegrass, that's what I was trying to write, because I was just like, wow, it's a really cool style of music. Everybody can play it. Most people enjoy it, and so that's what I was trying to write. But then when I met Ryan and started hanging around with, some of the dudes that he was hanging around with, and saw this different approach to music. Like I'd listened to rock and roll before, but never that closely. Never been actually a part of a rock and roll scene or a band at all. So it kind of enlightened me to where it's like you can play an acoustic guitar and still rock out. And so I think that definitely the company you keep and the music everybody's making, and it all just comes into play equally, I feel like. Sure.
Now, at this point, how do you see the way you write songs as a hybrid of all those ideas? As trying at one point to write bluegrass and then sort of meeting rock and roll or whatever.
I think I've gotten more experimental with the chord progressions a little bit, and because I started off actually playing in a metal band, but that was not very songwriter oriented, and I realized that I really like songwriters, like Townes Van Zandt, Bob Dylan, of course, like Paul Simon, folks like that, and so that wasn't a very good outlet for me, and so I think that the acoustic world really lended itself to a songwriter, for me to approach music as a songwriter, and then and then Ryan, listening to Ryan's stuff, it's at his CD release show, it's just like he had this huge rock band on stage with him, and it was like this. I don't know, it was awesome, and he totally approaches songwriting with the songwriter approach. It's not just always it's not always about the heaviest riff. It's sometimes just like what fits the words and what fits the lyrics. So I think in that sense, like now I don't really approach it with a style in mind. I kind of just let the song be. I just let it turn into what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, Ryan, how difficult is it for you sometimes to sort of pull back? I know that your band has been, maybe it seems like a 7-piece at points, and then to do something like play these songs in sort of this really small configuration.
It's well, that's why I probably would have done this show if they weren't playing it.
Sure.
And it's real difficult for me. I don't enjoy it. I like to have lots of people to hide behind, especially in the daylight.
Sure.
So it is difficult and it's weird. And I guess that's one reason why I've never really done it that much, is I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel like I'm presenting what I was trying to, put out there. I feel like it's more like I don't hear the songs the way most people hear them. I don't think so. It's pretty rare that I will step back and bring it down. Even when the whole band can't make it, I'm kind of like, damn, you know, we're a 5-piece tonight.
Sure.
You know? But it's good for me, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, it is definitely hard.
What's the apprehension there? I mean, what is it about playing a song solo or playing it in that very quiet version that is bothersome, you think?
A lot of it is actually comes down to practice, I think. Which, if I don't practice the songs by myself, or like once I write the song, I never play it unless it's going to be practicing with a band or at a show. Because I've always been like, I'm gonna have a band, you know, I don't need to figure out a way to do this myself, or I'm gonna have an organ and a lead guitar and a bunch of harmonies and, you know, drums, to where I don't think about needing to come up with a 3-piece version that is actually more well planned out. It's like if you get enough people together that can work with each other and not step on each other well, not really knowing what's going on, you can generally make something interesting happen without it having to be planned out, which has, you know, not saying that's how it'll always be or anything, but I would say I like having so many people because I don't really have anything planned out and I don't really know what's going on, you know. Whereas if I were to take time and develop something with a smaller group, I think I would feel more comfortable about taking that away. But
Sure. Want to play some songs?
Sure.
Yeah.